Hello, I'm Rick Vanover from Veeam. Object storage is a first-class citizen for backup data nowadays. Whether you want to store backup data off-site in a hyperscale public cloud, service provider offered object storage, or even on-premises unified storages that offer object storage, there are so many options today of leveraging object storage. Let's jump in the lab and I'm going to walk through a number of different scenarios so you can see how easy it is with the Veeam data platform to use object storage. Okay, so what I'm looking at here are the list of backup repositories. So in Veeam terms, a backup repository is where backups go. It can also be disk systems. So you can see I have the Veeam hardened repository on here running on Linux with immutability. Great choice for on-premises, ultra-resilient storage. And then I also have hyperscale options like AWS, Wasabi, and Microsoft Azure. You can add a backup repository really easily. And with object storage, you can add an S3 compatible system, which would include on-premises options as well as service providers, as well as some of the leading object storage providers in the market. Now I have a few of these configured here, and I want to walk through the configuration, and then I'm going to show you some really interesting use cases. Now here at Veeam, I really like using the scale-out backup repository. And the scale-out backup repository, you can also go with a completely object storage implementation. So let me zoom this out here. The scale-out backup repository is a software-defined way to have a backup policy, a lifecycle, across one or more object storage or even regular storage resources. So let me first walk you through the on-prem immutable object storage that I have set up here. This is an on-premises object storage system where I have some credentials, I have an endpoint, but it's really important to note that this bucket that I'm using is marked as immutable. So it's set for 7 days immutability. So this is an object storage resource where my backups are going to go, and I'm going to have them immutable. I can also look at my offsite copy as well. And this is with, in this example, it's Wasabi. It could also be the other examples I showed earlier. But basically, similar situation. This is object storage. This is with a key. And then I have a bucket, and I have, again, immutability set. So in this example, I have 5 days of immutable. So this is an ultra-resilient copy of my data. Ultra-resilient, I like to say, is air-gapped, offline, or immutable. This is an ultra-resilient copy. So I have these two different object storage repositories set up, but let me walk you through the policy because this is really the important part. So this scale-out backup repository is basically taking both of those object storage resources. One is going to be a performance tier, which is the first stop for the backup data, and it's going to be this object storage immutable resource that's on premises. Now, the second tier is the capacity tier. Now, this over the years has had a number of different names. We used to call it cloud tier, but capacity tier is the right name in the product. Basically, this means that I am extending this backup policy to, in this case, it's the Wasabi storage, and I'm doing this transparently through a policy engine defined right here. So the first thing I want to direct your attention to is what we call copy mode. So this means that once the backup is set on that performance tier, the first on-premises object storage, that backup restore point will immediately be copied to the off-site capacity tier. So I have immediate adherence to my 3-2-1 rule. 3 different copies of data, 2 different media, one of which is off-site. Bonus points, because both of these are immutable, I have 2 different distinctly separate ultra-resilient or immutable copies. Now, as the life cycle goes, we have this other option right here to move the backups to object storage as they age out of their operational restore window. So there's a lot of benefits here. So basically after 14 days, the on-premises storage resources will be basically liberated of the long retention necessary. So that's very attractive. And then the third thing I want to highlight after that, I guess, fourth thing, is to encrypt this backup data in the offsite copy. I like to say encrypt your data in the cloud, or someone else may do it for you. Now what I mean by this is that the copy of data in this bucket is encrypted with your own encryption password. This is really powerful because you have the ability, if all else is lost, to pick up the data, in this case in Wasabi, enter in this password, and you can do complete recovery. So this is really attractive. So this is the scale-out backup repository configured with these two immutable targets, and that becomes a target for where your backup jobs go. So historically, we grew up doing backups disk to tape, or disk to cloud, or something like that. This is a new trick where we can actually have object storage be that first stop. I like to say object storage is now a first-class citizen when it comes to backups. So let me just show you real quick in one of these jobs here. So let's take this, this job right here. So example 3 is putting backups directly to object storage immutable. So it's a pretty big job. It's got a couple different groups in there real quick. I'll just walk you through this. This is a virtual machine backup. It could be NAS, it could be agents, but this example is virtual machines. I have 2 different folders of users in my shared environment. This collection of infrastructure is going to be protected to that scale-out backup repository that I just showed you there. So basically, object storage is the entire storage resource and protection for what we have on premises and in the cloud. I could have general purpose disk, but object storage has really become a first-class citizen. And then I can have the existing options that go along with our backups. Now, what's really interesting about that is you can go in to look here to see where these different backups sit. Object storage resources for primary backups and then copies and imports and exports will all sit here, and as well as capacity tier. So regardless, they're all inventoried in the database, but you could go in here and you could find, that was the job I was just looking at, for example, and all of your recovery options are completely transparent. So underneath the object storage hive, you have then these recovery options like we know and love. So truly, object storage has become a first-class citizen for backups. So as I've shown you, setting up object storage as a first-class citizen for backup data is really easy to do with Veeam Backup and Replication, which is part of the Veeam data platform. You have a lot of options. There are well over 30 different immutable object storage providers and well over 50 regular object storage providers, and that's both on-premises and as a service from service providers and in the hyperscale public clouds. Now, I really encourage you to download a trial. I know we've talked on our YouTube channel about different ways you could download and experience Veeam. You gotta have a trial to give a look at object storage here with Veeam. And also, if you wanna see something specific demoed here with either object storage or something else in the Veeam data platform, let us know in the comments. I am watching it and my team is watching it. We'll get something in there. Whatever you wanna see, we'll do it. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next demo.